Hey everyone, my name's Gabi.
I'm Charlotte.
And welcome back to Front End Loader Talk.
Nah, we're just kidding. This is still Trunk Talk, which is your favorite, hopefully, automotive podcast where we talk about every single thing in the automotive industry. And today we're doing it in this super hot piece of machinery.
Heavy on the machinery because this is quite literally a piece of machinery. No longer are we sitting in the trunk, we are sitting in a Caterpillar 226D. Now, if you didn't know already, this fine piece of machine is a 2.2 liter diesel. It's got about 65 horsepower and a great amount of torque, thanks to it being a diesel. It's great for doing whatever you need. At Brantford Kia, we use it for our snowplow removal, or snow removal.
And that just means it is a absolutely certified sweet ride. Oh, now, you're probably wondering, what does this vehicle have to do with what we're talking about today? And pretty much it has absolutely nothing to do with what we're talking about today.
But that's not true, Charlotte. Because we will have a fun fact about this towards the end of the video.
Yeah, so make sure that you stay tuned. So you got to stay till the end to figure out what we know about this hot ride. But building off of what we talked about last week, so last week we talked about when you should buy a new or basically a new vehicle to replace your old vehicle.
Yep.
Today we're building off of that to talk about when do you know if you should lease, finance, or also pay cash outright for your vehicle. So today we're going to be breaking down exactly what those three different options mean, what they are, the pros, the cons, and helping you guys tie it all together to help you make the most informed decision. So let's talk about financing.
Yeah, for sure. So financing is the most popular choice. Charlotte and I work at a new car dealership that also has used cars. And whether it be a new or used vehicle, finance is often what most of our customers are looking for. Now, what financing is essentially borrowing money. Now, this could be from the bank itself, from a credit union, or from a dealership to buy your vehicle. So you're not spending all that money all up at front. Now, you can put an upfront down payment or whatnot, but it's not exactly necessary, or maybe it will be in your case, but nonetheless, you're not spending all of that money all at once. It's pretty nice. Now, there are certainly some pros to financing a vehicle, so we'll start off with the positives, but of course, we'll also talk about the negatives so you can make the right choice.
Yeah.
First things first is going to be affordability. Now, when you are financing a vehicle, like I said earlier, you're not spending all that money. So that list price of the vehicle, it's not coming out of your account right away, okay, you guys? It's gradual.
You're not seeing the 40 grand drop.
Yes, which makes it a lot more attractive. You know what I mean? It's a lot nicer to just see a bi-weekly payment, weekly payment, even a monthly payment, whatever your option is. So it allows you to get a vehicle without paying the full cost up front. This also means that you might be able to get a better car option. So if I had a budget, or I could only have $10,000 coming into my account right now, if I was shopping for a used car, you're probably not going to get the best options. I mean, you'll certainly find something. It's, of course, going to be used, but it might be high mileage. You don't know the reliability of it. But a $10,000 down payment on a finance sounds a lot more attractive, especially if you're looking at a brand new vehicle. You know what I mean? So better car options. You might be able to get something more luxurious, maybe more sporty, because you're not spending all that money all at once. Another thing that's a benefit of financing a vehicle is the ownership. The vehicle will eventually be your car. So it's not like a lease where at the end of your term you give it back to the dealership. It's your car after the term. Till then, though, the bank still owns it. So, once the loan is paid off, the vehicle is all yours. That also means that if you are someone who plans on doing things to your vehicle, maybe it's a truck and you want to lift it, or I don't know, maybe it's a sports car and you want to do a bunch of things to it, you can, provided you make your payments. Now, our next point is a fixed payment structure. So when you do finance a vehicle, you can decide, do you want bi-weekly payments? Do you want monthly payments? Do you want weekly payments? Are you putting money down to shorten that payment? How long are you going to be paying it off? Now, the most popular terms is typically a 7-year term here in Canada,
Yeah,
right,
that's
Charlotte?
the most common.
Yeah, so over a long period of time, your payment is going to be smaller, which is attractive. And you also know how much is coming out at each week or each month. So it's a little bit easier to budget and plan ahead, which a lot of our customers seem to enjoy. Now, on the terms of cons, the first things first is going to be interest. Of course, with financing, there is typically an interest rate associated with that, even with 0%, right, Charlotte?
Yep.
So, fun fact, if you didn't know, 0% interest isn't exactly 0%. There's a couple fees in there.
You still got APR, babes.
Yes. So with interest, you're paying more than the vehicle's cost, especially with a longer term. You're not just paying the MSRP, the purchase price with tax. There is interest on top of that.
So essentially it ends up costing you more in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But of course, that long run feels a lot better on your sake, right?
Yes.
Now, depreciation and negative equity. So it's no surprise that new cars do depreciate. Depending on the vehicle that you have, it could depreciate a lot more. you could end up with negative equity. And the most cases I see this in is typically high mileage drivers or just vehicles that get a lot of wear and tear on them.
Definitely.
So I know for me, I had my car for 2 years and I already had 80,000 kilometers. Obviously, that's going to be worth less than the same vehicle that had much less mileage. So if you're someone who drives a lot and you know you're going to be switching your vehicle before your payments are even done, you might end up what we like to call upside down, right, Charlotte?
Yep.
All right, next point is long-term commitment. So with loans lasting 3 to 7 years, sometimes even longer, we have seen 94-month terms, which is a bit longer. That's a pretty long-term commitment. Yeah, 96, you're right, not 94. It's 84 and then 96. So long terms, that's a long commitment, and that's payments all of those years. Now, a lot of people buy a car and they think they can commit to those payments, but life happens. So let's say 4 years down the road on your 8-year finance, you find yourself with a family, a dog, maybe you got twins on the way.
Oh.
And maybe your compact sedan isn't exactly it's not exactly suited to your lifestyle anymore. That's a case where you might find yourself upside down. You might find yourself with a vehicle that's not exactly worth as much as you owe on it, and then you're kind of in an uncomfortable situation, right, Char?
Yeah.
Another one is going to be, this is up to you, potential repossession.
Oh my goodness.
If you don't make those payments, no one else is gonna. So they can take your car back. They'll repossess your car.
They will take it, and they will find you.
They will find you.
And they will take it.
Don't try to block it off with other cars. They'll find it. Trust me, they'll find it. So yeah, those are my pros and cons of financing. I know I personally financed vehicles, and it's worked for me. I ended up with positive equity on my car.
Yeah.
Positive equity. But again, being in sales in the past, I have seen quite a few people with negative equity, and it's not a fun time. Especially if you are getting another new vehicle financing it, you'll be rolling that negative equity into your next car, and then it's almost like an endless cycle.
And it's just a bigger loan.
Yes.
Which is the unfortunate part. The other thing too is I think a lot of people don't necessarily realize the difference between finance rates when it comes to a new or used vehicle. And with used vehicles, there can be certain criteria that needs to be met in order to secure a finance.
Yes.
Sometimes, you know, the mileage of the vehicle can affect it, the age of the vehicle. So typically vehicles that are 10 years and older, you're going to be paying at a higher interest rate. And basically all those factors can, of course, affect the rate that you have, as well as your credit score, which is going to be the same with leasing, which is what I get the opportunity to talk about right now. So a little bit of background on myself is I was an F&I manager here at Brantford Kia, so I have done financing, I have done leasing. I've just been on the other end of it, not necessarily the customer end of it. I've been the one doing all the paperwork.
Charlotte's the lessor.
Yeah, I'm the lessor. I'm the one that nobody likes. And that's okay, because this stuff can be intimidating, which is why we're going to try to break it down as easy as we can. Now, I feel like when it comes to car leases, people don't necessarily understand them as much as they would when it comes to leasing property. So say like an apartment rental or something like that. So I'll try to relate it to that as much as possible to keep it in its absolute simplest term. The way that I like to describe leasing in its most bare bones form is almost like a subscription service, or you are renting a vehicle essentially and making payments on it for a set amount of time. Typically, people will lease anywhere between 2 to 5 years, but the average being about, well, really it can be like 1 year to 5 years is what a lot of people can do, but the average is about 2 to 3 years is what we see people leasing their vehicles for, which is fantastic. And with that, you are going to have a fixed payment, and when the lease ends, you have the option to either return the vehicle back to the dealership, you just hand over the keys, sign your paperwork, you're good to go, or you can actually buy it out at a predetermined residual, so at a predetermined cost at the end of your lease term if you really enjoyed that vehicle and want to keep driving it. So let's talk about some of the pros when it comes to leasing. Basically, you have smaller payments compared to financing, and that's because you're not paying for the full cost of the vehicle. Remember, I said you're going to have a residual at the end. You have a guaranteed value of what your vehicle is going to be.
Peace of mind.
Very nice. And that is written on your lease agreement up front. Don't worry. You will know what that number is. But because you're not paying for the full amount of the vehicle and also the full tax amount of the vehicle, you're going to have a smaller payment in compared to what you would if you are financing the same vehicle for the same term, which I think is something that's fantastic. Gives you a little bit more financial flexibility if you do see it that way, of course. You're able to drive a new vehicle for a couple of years, which means you're able to get your hands on the latest and greatest tech, comfort, and safety features. And I also think that this gives you a great opportunity to figure out what you actually like or don't like in a vehicle.
Oh, yeah.
That way, if you decide to buy something cash outright or finance in the future to, get some more secure ownership, you know what you're looking for, which I think is really cool. So that's why I say it's kind of like a subscription service or a rental service, which I think is fantastic again. And then also you're going to have warranty coverage. So most vehicles are only leased within the period of warrantable repairs. Now, the way that I think about this is you are still going to be accountable for wearable components. So you still need to do your oil changes. If you are leasing it for longer and you need to do your brakes, brakes you would have to pay for, brake service, stuff like that. Tires, of course. So this is going to be more so like, say if you're in an apartment and your oven goes, that's something your landlord would be responsible for, but you still have the responsibility of paying things like your utilities. So you're still paying.
Good connection.
Thank you. Like I said, I'm going to try to make this easy, hopefully.
Yeah.
So that's just one way of thinking it. But again, leasing does have a lot of pros, especially if you are doing it with a company too. So that is very, very popular for people who are business owners, small business owners. Oh my goodness, a giant piece of ice just fell outside the window.
On my mom's car.
On Gabby's mom's car. Woohoo!
It's okay, no damage has been done that I can see.
So we think we're good. Anyways,
let's keep going.
Let's talk about cons. That already got us into something negative. So cons, the biggest one for leasing is you don't own the vehicle. It does belong to the leasing company. So it's at the end of the term, you don't own it. Now, also, a lot of these...
You better take those mods off.
That's literally what I'm going to say. So the thing about leasing is it's great while you are using it, but at the end, you got to remember, this isn't your vehicle. It's something that you've signed a contract for, you've been entrusted to, but it's not yours. Same as your apartment. You don't own your apartment. You can't make those permanent changes, So basically, it limits what you can do for customization and mods. So if you want to straight pipe it, no, you can't. Sorry, don't. Or
Make sure you unstraighten the pipe after.
Yeah, you gotta curve it back. No. So that does limit terms of customization. And then also, if you do stuff like that at lease end, you can have extra costs that are incurred. There we go. Some of the other restrictions that you have at lease end, because lease end is kind of when all of the negatives come out, because they're going to do an inspection on the vehicle. Now, things that are normal wear and tear, like if you have very normal tire wear over the course of 2-3 years, you're not going to have to pay upfront for that. But if they're looking at your vehicle and they're like, oh my goodness, you cracked your windscreen, like that's not good. Or, your tires are completely bald
they
after
look like
2
slicks.
years. Yeah. They look like racing tires. There's going to be extra charges. Normal wear and tear, again, is fine. But if you've gone crazy, it's just like losing your security deposit. You have to pay for it. You have to pay for the damage that you have done. Another thing that is a part of your leasing contract is yearly mileage. So mileage is restricted. Typically, we see people do about 20,000 to 25,000 kilometers for their leasing contract on a year. Gabby thought about leasing.
I would love to lease a car, you guys. I would absolutely love to. I can't.
Gabby did 40,000 kilometers in a year, which you can do a lease for mileage that high, but your payment, of course, goes up.
Yeah, you'll be paying for the extra mileage.
Yeah, you're paying for the extra mileage.
Yeah.
So if you do go over that, that's another thing that is inspected at lease end, and you generally have to pay a certain dollar per cents per kilometer. So I think for us, it's about 12 cents a kilometer that you go over. So it does add up over time if you do a lot of extra mileage.
Adds up a lot.
If it's 1 kilometer, you're okay, don't worry. But that is general things that they are going to be inspecting. And then the last one I think is, arguably people think it's pretty good, and that's paying cash.
Oh yeah, so cash is great. Cash is king.
That's what I had too.
Some may even say. But cash is, obviously it's not more expensive than either or. If you're financing a vehicle, that turns out to be more expensive than paying cash in the long run. But not everyone has cash like that.
Yeah.
It happens.
So to define paying cash, it's basically paying outright for the price of a vehicle. And some vehicles, it's going to be a lot easier to do this than if it's something like a $10,000 vehicle versus a $40,000 vehicle. One is going to be a lot easier to save up and buy outright than the other.
Yes.
So some of the benefits of paying cash is, like what Gabby was saying, is it doesn't necessarily cost you more in the long run, because you are paying it.
Saves you more.
Saves you more in the long run. That's facts right there. But one of the difficulties is it can be difficult to, of course, build up that those savings in the first place.
Yeah.
Also, if you're someone who's, really financial savvy and you want to invest a lot of your money, that is a portion that you would be missing out on potential investments as well. And it's a lot of money to put into a depreciating asset.
Yeah.
So with that being said, both of us have purchased vehicles cash. So.
Yes. And in some instances, you can only buy the car in cash. So like Charlotte mentioned, there's some vehicles that are too old to be financed. Or I know our used vehicles, if someone comes up over here and they want to buy our 2016 Mustang, we can't lease that. That's not a new vehicle and we're a Kia dealership, you know what I mean? So I know there's some tweaks to lease used vehicles, but it's not exactly common and it's more so a specialty type thing.
Yeah.
And it's expensive. So someone who would like to finance or even pay cash on that Mustang, that would be their only options, you know what I mean? And even with the finance, it would be a used car rate, which would be higher. So it really comes down to what kind of money you've got and what you're comfortable working with, right?
Yeah, and also just what you're able to save up to.
Yeah.
So
now, when we say cash, do we mean someone's walking in with a bag of cash, Charlotte?
No, please don't do that. So like I said, I've been a finance manager. I had someone call me up. They told me they were going to bring $22,000. They went to the bank. They got $22,000 in cash, and I said, I told you this before because I did because they told me they were going to do this, and I told them they couldn't. I said, we need a certified check or bank draft made payable to Brantford Kia.
Yes.
We do not take over $10,000 a day in cash.
Yes. From my understanding, I think that's standard across Ontario, not just with dealers, but just banks, period. Can't accept more than $10K cash from you.
So certified check.
So what if they brought in, $10,000, a big bag of cash, $10K one day, then Tuesday they showed up again, $10K, then the last day of pickup.
Debit $20.
$20, you guys. But I guess you could do that.
Yeah, you can do that.
You'll work it out with your dealership.
Yeah.
But yeah, don't walk in with just a bunch of cash. Now for private sellers selling something on Marketplace or Kijiji, that's obviously a bit different, but you got to work it out with them.
Yeah, there's a whole other different situation, but you got to remember we're strictly cash pretty much. It's not like you're financing or leasing something from Robbie on Facebook Marketplace.
So if someone's private selling a vehicle, can they finance it, Charlotte?
I mean,
in a way.
Yeah, like it would be through your bank, like if you're doing it through like a home equity line or something like that. Like I could see that happening.
Yeah.
That's creative. Yeah, you can get creative with it. You can do a lot of things.
You guys, there's actually so many options. Let us know if you want a part 2.
But those are the weird ones. What we're talking about today is, the 3 pretty standard ones.
We're talking about the ones you'll experience at a dealership more than likely as well too. So pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think we covered everything, right, Char?
That pretty much breaks it down. So
actually, we never got into any cons of paying cash.
I said it's a lot to give up.
It's hard to come by these days.
It's hard to come by in this economy.
Y'all are paying cash. But yeah, I think that sums up our debate between the 3.
Yeah.
Is everyone ready for a fun fact?
I know I am, Gabby.
Just gonna pull up my phone to make sure I get this fact right.
Yeah, please do. It's really important, guys.
Fun fact about skid steers, you guys. The very first skid steer loader was invented in 1957 by 2 brothers, Cyril and Lewis Keller, to help a Minnesota turkey farm clean out their barn.
Sweet.
Now, the farmer needed a compact, maneuverable machine that could turn on a dime in tight spaces. Hence the skid steer. The Kellers built a 3-wheeled loader with an independent left and right wheel control, laying the foundation of the modern skid steer. If you're wondering, how did we get to this amazing Cat 226D? Well, Bobcat later bought the design in 1960, and they introduced the Bobcat M400, the world's first 4-wheeled skid steer, kickstarting an industry of versatile loaders.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was so relevant and important.
Side note, did you know that all these machines take the same key?
Yeah. Jackson has keys.
My dad's got keys.
That's why it's parked inside.
Yes.
Well, on that note, thank you guys so much for joining us today. We hope that you found this informative and also a little bit of fun just in what the vehicle that we're in and how we talk about it. So if you haven't subscribed to the Kia Hyundai channel, please do so. If you are watching this on YouTube, please go and download it as well on your podcast platform. We would love to hit 1,000 monthly streams when it comes to all of our podcast platforms. That's our goal.
We're under that?
Yeah. On platforms, not on views though.
Please.
Please. So that would be really sweet.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you so much.
Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye.